Recording. Okay. All right. So this is Sarah Gentiloni with Healthy Families for God, and I have got my girl with me tonight. So Faith and I have been teaching classes together since she was, what, 9, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe younger.
hmm
The first one that I did, she came to a church with me, right? I think that was kind of one of our big classes, where we
Yeah.
talked about feeding your kids healthy and stuff. And now Faith's been on her own hormone journey. She's 23. Well, on,
Almost in a few days.
on Sunday.
Calm down. No, I'm
Um,
just kidding.
and so she's walked a journey that has forced her to learn a lot about hormones at a young age and stuff like that. So um, that combined with the fact that I have seen lab tests for a lot of young women and girls that just aren't very great. And it's nothing that they did wrong. And it just really showed us that this is a massive issue. So tonight, we want to give you the tools that Faith's found, that we've found, the things that we've seen to just really stay proactive and also just really, help our girls through this stage of life and give them a better foundation as they grow up. So, um, thanks for joining us, Faye.
Hi.
Do you feel comfortable briefly just sharing kind of a little bit about like your journey or how you figured out that this stuff that everybody else says is normal with girls and their periods and things is not normal?
Yeah, for sure. Hi everybody. It's nice to be here. Nice to share some information for the first time. I got my period right away at 12 years old. It was, very scary. Things were changing at that point. And they were immediately really painful periods. I was in so much pain every month for at least a week. I would just be bleeding, I'd be really uncomfortable. And I just didn't understand why. I initially thought that it was normal. I was like, okay, it's part of being a woman, you're growing up and women are tough. I saw my mom doing all this stuff and I was like, she's a baddie. She's taking care of business. And I just I thought it was just, something we dealt with and something that made us stronger. Which it definitely does make us stronger, but it's not normal. So I for so long I didn't care. I wanted to be a kid. I anytime anyone mentioned hormones, I was like, no, I don't want to hear about it. I don't care, it's not hormones, it's my painful periods that I'm struggling with. And I didn't realize the connection there, which is a huge connection, which we're going to be talking about tonight. So I didn't care for a long time until I turned I think about 3 years ago. I was just so fed up. I was in school, I was in college, taking some classes at a community college, and I missed so many classes. I was missing classes. I was having to make up homework because I would just be laying in bed. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do a lot of stuff. And I was like, everybody else can do this stuff. Why can't I do it? And so I was like, okay, I need to take this to my own hands. I my husband actually, he was my fiance at the time, and he was like, let's go to the doctor, and see what they're gonna do. And I was like, okay, they're not gonna help, But I went and I went through a lot of doctors, lots of doctors, lots of clinics and ERs. Nobody was helping. They were like, it's a part of being a woman. So I was like, okay, but at that point, I was so fed up and I was like, nope, I'm finding answers. So I took it into my own hands. I started doing my own research. I started learning in school about hormones too, the endocrine system, every body system, how it all works together in harmony. And I was like, nope, we're gonna take care of this. And I did find a doctor, and he finally diagnosed me with endometriosis. And so that was another learning curve. I was like, oh, I got to research that now too, and how hormones play a role into that. And so that's kind of my journey. Now I went from 7+ days of just horrible, horrible periods, gushing blood, and to now just 4 days, super chill, super cute. And even on the fourth day, I'm like, well, I'm done with her. because it's so late at that point. I'm like, she's done. So that's my journey.
That's awesome. And so I want to also just kind of point out for all of the moms, because a lot of the people who are on Healthy Families for God, they're living healthy like we were. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we ate so clean. We had no toxic junk in the home. I mean, the whole house water filtration system went on the house right when we moved into that house in Oklahoma. I mean, everything I say, everything I preach, we live.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to put that out there just because, part of what we're going to be sharing tonight is, we can be doing all of the things right, and our girls still need some support and some proactive help in this area. And so that's another thing that we're going to bring tonight too. And then, of course, some of the things from maybe when you aren't or weren't living healthy, and just kind of how we gain some of that ground back.
Absolutely. Yes.
So let's talk about real quickly, just kind of like what's normal and what's not normal, because I like what you said about your cycle length and just
Yeah.
how much the flow is going. So, you know, normal versus common.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see. The biggest things would be definitely painful periods. They're not supposed to be painful. Okay. It's not normal, no matter how many times a doctor, a friend, a guardian, anyone tells you it's normal. It's not normal. And you need a new doctor. No, I'm just kidding. But you really need to understand it's not normal. We shouldn't be having pain like that with our periods. A little cramping here and there is normal, but not to the point where you're actually like doubled over, feeling nauseous. And it shouldn't be super heavy, especially at a younger age. It shouldn't be just like absolutely going at it, it should not be that heavy. It should be light, cute, It can change a little bit here and there, but we don't want to see huge gaps between our cycle days. We don't want to be like super inconsistent. We don't want to have irregular ones or missed periods, but still pain. We don't want to see any of that. And another big one, definitely acne. I struggle with acne a lot too, and it was all related. So we don't want to see acne. You hear about hormonal acne and how normal it is and stuff. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be that normalized, honestly, because it's really not. So I would say those are the big two ones that society's really like, no, it's normal, you're growing up. Um, no, I don't think so.
That's a good point. I like that you pointed that out about acne too, because the body's always giving us signs that it
Mm-hmm.
needs more help in something, and we just have to learn to pay attention to that and not
Yep.
brush it off. And I guess sometimes maybe when a girl is just starting out her cycle,
Mm-hmm.
that may be a normal time for it to be irregular at first. Um,
Absolutely. Yes.
but after a couple of years into it, for sure
Mm-hmm.
we can get it regulated, right?
Yes, definitely. Like in the beginning, your body is flushed with all these new like levels of these hormones because you're growing, your body's changing. It's perfectly normal for it to, kind of change and fluctuate a little bit here and there. But yeah, definitely a few years in, or even like 8 years in, 10 years in, you don't want to be seeing all these crazy changes and
Gosh, yes,
um yeah.
yes, yes, gosh, yes, yes. I mean, even now through my 40s, my cycles have been very regular,
Hmm.
and stuff. So I would say, just paying attention to that. Our girls really deserve these conversations. And then, of course, you've got the long-term effects that we're seeing. There's so many people that are going through infertility journeys and
Hmm.
some other things like that. And even women having hormonal cancers at younger and younger ages. It's just heartbreaking. So, that breast or ovarian cancer that a woman's having in her 30s after she did have a couple of babies, it started in her teenage years, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
so yeah, so I'm glad that everybody's here tonight to really just help our girls with this, because the long-term effects are just as devastating, if not more. Let's briefly talk about, you kind of started a little bit about your journey through all of these doctors. And so I want to, encourage our women to, um, advocate for themselves? How can they
Mm.
do that? Just, you didn't just be like, well, they're not going to be of any help and stay in that. Like, yeah, sometimes I know that a lot of healthy families for God people are like, what's the point of going to the doctor? Obviously, we're not saying you should or shouldn't go to the doctor, and there is a space for that. But in that space, we do still need to advocate for ourselves, right?
Yes, definitely. I think it's very important. I want to first say that I don't think majority of doctors, it's not their intention to just brush you aside and brush your feelings, your reality, your symptoms aside. It's just they're taught in medical school a protocol. They're taught, this is gonna cure this symptom. This is gonna, help with this and stuff. They're taught these protocol things and they study hard, they work hard, and they make a lot of sacrifices to study for, other people, helping other people with their health. So I never like to think ill of them, but at the same time, it's really hard to find a doctor who will actually listen to women's health concerns.
Yeah.
I know this from experience because, like I said, I've been through so many doctors, so many clinics where I would walk out in tears, like just crying and talking to my husband and my fiance at the time. And I would just be so over it and so discouraged because they would totally gaslight me and they'd tell me, this is part of being a woman, the typical thing. And they're like, you don't look sick, you look fine, your labs look great.
Mhm.
They weren't running any hormone tests or
Mhm.
doing anything deeper. So, yeah, it's very hard. I would just encourage everybody to do their own research first, definitely. Just kind of have your, not ammunition, but kind of, so that you can be prepared for if they, try to gaslight you or try
Mhm.
to cover you know, your real problems, your concerns. They try to cover that up. So I would say do your research and come prepared. And it's kind of hard, but leave your emotions aside. Set them to the side. Listen to what the doctor's telling you so that you know how to kind of have a conversation with them um, from your research that you did, and really, really just I don't know, just keep trying because some doctors will be like, no, that's not true, about your research that you did, and it's true.
Mhm.
So find a new doctor,
Find a
go
new
to a
one,
new,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
doctor, nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioners are great too. Again, not all of them, but they have generally a more natural outlook on medicine. So they're good too. But again, it's just going to be speaking up for yourself, don't be
And
quiet about it.
asking
It's your
questions too.
body.
I like how
Yeah.
your recent post. So those who don't follow you on Instagram, they need to. I like your recent post was just questions to ask. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can ask questions to the things that they tell you.
Yep.
Part of me, I know, and my past experiences with doctors would have been like, yeah, whatever. Like I would ask them a question and I was like, their answer sucks. I'm not going with that.
Yeah.
But also just continuing to ask them questions, and maybe you'll help them out too, but maybe not, and you'll find a new doctor. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, asking questions is good. I like the questions that you had kind of posted recently about, about endometriosis, but I think it applies to other things as well. So,
Absolutely.
asking questions, looking around, finding somebody that will hear you if it's really serious. Because let's be honest. In your case, there was so much scar tissue from endometriosis that you had to have it surgically removed.
Yes. Yeah. My
So
my organs were like sticking together. So I really couldn't do anything from a health standpoint starting out that way. So it was
right,
very important for me to have that surgery and have
yeah,
like a refresh to
right.
start with. It's a clean
To
slate.
start, and then going with kind of a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, so sometimes there is a place where you're going to need that somebody in that field, and so just keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about kind of how did it get this way. We talked about how we lived really really
Mm-hmm.
well. I mean, I didn't know a lot of what I know now or what I've known for a while when you were a baby and when I was pregnant with you. So of course there were some, decisions on my behalf that may have played into it. And, one of the things that we've got to remember is that, you and our girls are all being formed in there, and everything we put on our bodies and everything that touches our skin and stuff is getting absorbed, and it's affecting the way that your hormones develop. So that's, obviously a big thing. And we can't go back to
Hmm.
change that, but we can teach our daughters better. And then when they start having babies and things like that, and the differences we make now are going to impact our health too. So that's kind of like talking about some of the things that we use and wear every day, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, a lot of things, so many things nowadays, like trendy makeups and like lotion, skincare, all that kind of stuff. It has really bad stuff in it, and we don't really look at the ingredients because everybody uses it, and it should be trusted, it's a very popular brand. So it's fine, but you would be surprised how many um like terrible, terrible ingredients are in there, fragrances and parabens and other things that just kind of like break off the connection between the hormones that your body's producing and the
Right.
hormones that the parabens kind of stimulate in your body. So
Right. So it's
it's,
like you've got a whole nother endocrine system. So
yes.
there's two voices going at once, and your body's like, ah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your body is like, what is happening right now? Who do I listen to? And so that just messes with the whole balance of your endocrine system already.
Right. And so as long as that's still being used, right, there's still going to
Hmm.
be these mixed messages. And then you've
Yes.
got the xenoestrogens in these products that are going to be occupying the receptor sites in your body that your own estrogen should be
Hmm.
occupying, right, Faye?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So I wanted to share this statistic. Adolescent girls who wear makeup every day have 20 times the levels of propylparaben in their urine compared to those who never or rarely wear makeup. And that's just makeup. So we've got to talk about the soaps, the lotions, the deodorants, the laundry detergent, the fabric softener, the perfumes, the candles in the home, right? All those things. So, as long as those things are sending messages to our bodies, our hormones can't find their optimal balance, right?
Yeah. And I mean, think about your clothes that you're washing them in, and then you wear them all day long. You go outside, you sweat in them, and you're just exposed to that all the time,
Right. And
all
it's not
day,
just
every day.
breathing it in, it's also your
Mm,
skin, because your skin
yep.
is, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're in nursing school now, like your skin is your largest organ, right?
It is. Yeah. And it's your first line of defense for your immune system. So think about like the damage that it's causing to your skin already. And then after it gets to your skin, your skin's already weakened. And think about if you get a sickness or something, you catch a flu, catch something, and your skin's already struggling.
Yeah, yikes. And then um and I wanted to say this earlier and I forgot, but what I'm seeing on lab tests in our girls at young ages is their estrogen is just sky high, more so than I see in women of any age.
Mhm.
And it blew me away when I started seeing this on labs. Like, how in the world did we get here? I want to say that so strongly because our girls, they could be having these issues, and it's like if you just saw on paper the sky high estrogen,
Mhm.
it would blow your mind, right? And
Yeah.
so with these xenoestrogens in these products, that is just such a big deal.
Yeah.
And so let's also talk about the role that the nervous system and cortisol and stress plays in this, and just kind of how we can, or just what that looks like why is that an issue, what does it have to do with our hormones and progesterone and stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I would say learning in school how connected the endocrine system and the nervous system are, they're like sisters from the same mister, okay? They like they're so related. we need to be looking at our body as a whole. Like, I can't stress that enough. A lot of times I would go in and I'd be like, well, I'm doing everything to fix my hormones, but not realizing that it's not just the endocrine system that's, controlling your body. It's these other the systems, the 10 other systems. And so just looking at how they connect. Um, the thing is, a lot of your hormones are produced and regulated in your brain. So if you think about hypothalamus, it's like a little area deep in your brain. I'm pointing to it, but you cannot see it. I don't know what I'm doing. And so it's basically like the CEO of your hormones. If you think about it, it regulates them. It's like watching over your whole body, seeing your temperature, your body temp, your mood, everything, your metabolism, everything. It's seeing. And once something is off a little bit, it'll like reach out to the pituitary gland, which is also in your brain. And the pituitary gland is like the manager. So the manager is going to be like, okay, you need to do this. You need to do that. Thyroid, you need to make T3, T4 hormones. And it's telling the ovaries, you need to make estrogen, progesterone, and stuff like that. And so not looking at also the nervous system
Hmm.
is really, really important. And I would just say looking at stress, let's start with stress. So stress is, normal. It's going to be in your everyday life,
Hmm.
whether it's stress physically to your body or mentally, you're anxious about everything. We all have it. It's kind of not 100% avoidable in our life. I'm starting nursing school and I've been in science classes for the last 2 years. I've been stressed for a while. But learning, like, it's not going to get better anytime soon either.
Right.
So learning how to manage it is really the
Yes.
key.
And
I
that's
want,
not something that we really think that, oh, when I have
hmm
kids, I'm going to raise them to know how to handle stress well. Like, oh, I'm
yeah,
going to teach them how to read. I'm going to teach them their shapes. I'm going to teach them their colors, and I'm going to teach them how to manage stress. Like, it
yeah,
just doesn't really come up. And I
hmm
think that, there's so many more stressors, just like constant news and constant screens and coming at us, right? And so
hmm
we do want to really teach our girls how to manage that, like you're saying.
definitely, especially because we live in a society where it's like go, 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 You got to
Mm.
get up in the morning, you got to feed the kids, got to go to work, and you get like 30-minute lunch break, got to come home, start on
Yeah,
dinner,
true.
It's very go, go, go. And for our girls, going to school, like they wake up, they're like, oh, I have to go to school, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And then they get like a
Sports,
little
tests, and
test. Oh
peer
my gosh, yeah.
pressure, and yes,
hmm
yes, yes.
Drama in the friend group,
Yeah, and
like
all that,
drama is
even
big
like,
too.
yeah, even homeschooling. I mean, that's still
Oh
something
yeah.
that we have to work on and stuff. There's just stressors that can come with that too.
Yes.
So that's a good one. And then so if you're taking notes, so we're talking about kind of the three main things that we really want to just focus in on tonight that are the big contributors to how things get this way. So we talked about our home and personal care products. We're talking about this stress and the nervous system, and then the third one that we want to touch on, and then we'll get into how we help it with these three areas, is body composition and movement. So obviously in Faith's case, body composition wasn't an issue. She was active. She was a good weight. She was in Taekwondo. Her and I, we were walking and exercising very regularly. We're very active. And so that wasn't an issue for her. But for some girls it is. And so we talked about, and I love, by the way, I just want to say, I love how you talk about how, between the hypothalamus and the pituitary, it's the
hmm
CEO and the manager. That just,
Yeah.
I wish in my naturopathy program, they would have said it that way. Cause I would have got it a long time ago if they would have said it that way.
That's how I teach myself. That's how I have like a 4.0 GPA. That's how I know
Good job.
things.
That's my girl. So, but we talked about how the fragrances are like talking to our body as well. And so does body fat, excess body fat. So excess body fat is also like another endocrine system that's sending messages to our actual God-given endocrine system. And so if that is a factor, then it is absolutely essential that that is also addressed just the same as personal care products and things like that, so that the body has just its own endocrine system talking and nothing else. So we talk about body composition, that's just a healthy weight, not having excess body fat. Movement is absolutely essential for that. And movement, we talk a lot about too how movement, exercise, those kinds of things also help our body manage stress. That's one of the things for managing stress, right? So, so those three things are just kind of the things that we really wanted to focus in on tonight, right? Faith, does that cover
Yes.
it? And then we can talk about how we work on those things.
Yes, definitely. That covers it.
Okay. So how we help it, I mean, some of you are smart. You guys, my Healthy Families for God people are amazing and they're smart and they're probably like 10 steps ahead of us on some of this. But for those who aren't, we're so glad you're here. This is why we do what we do. And just maybe sometimes we just need a reminder. I know that for a lot of us, that have been living a long time, some people, they have their girls in school groups where they're pressure to use these certain products, and the marketing on the most toxic products is the best marketing.
Hmm.
And so sometimes we need a reminder like, hey, we gotta put our foot down and make sure those products aren't in our home, right? No matter how much our girls feel pressured to use them. So that's obviously the first one, or one of them, is lowering your toxic load. I wanted to share this stat real quick, and then Faith, I want you to touch on this some more.
Okay.
Newer research shows that switching to beauty and personal care products without parabens and phthalates turned breast cancer genes off in just 28 days. 28 days. Like if you're underestimating the impact of changing out your soaps, your lotions, your shampoos, your conditioners, your makeup, your all of those things. 28 days, it's turning breast cancer genes off. We talked in the beginning about the long-term effects, hormonal cancers. There you go. So lowering your toxic load, right, Faith?
Yes, definitely. And we talked about just how we don't want that stuff in your house. You don't want in the bathroom, but especially in the laundry room. A laundry room is honestly the greatest place to start because it
Mm-hmm.
affects everybody in the house all the
That's
time.
that's a good point.
Towels, clothes, everything is in there getting
I agree.
washed. So you want to make sure you're looking at what is in your laundry soap, what you're putting on your clothes and everything. And yeah, makeup. I'm a girly girl. I love makeup and stuff. I love the trendy stuff. I do. But the stuff in those products is just so bad. Like I looked at it and I'm like, I can't do that to myself. But I will say there are good makeup products out there, good makeup brands that make completely clean. Um, and I think we should be looking at those ones. And honestly, they have great marketing too. They're just
Mhm.
a little less popular because, they don't have as much as like the other brands do. They don't have as
Yeah.
much of a variety yet. Yet, I say, because these
Because
products I love and I
and
know they're going to make more.
yeah, and we
Mhm.
vote with our dollars, right?
Exactly, yeah. And they're a little bit more expensive, but what you pay now is going to pay off for you long term with your health. So I love those products so much. You can find them honestly at a lot of places. You just have to look for them.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's sometimes it'll take some research and stuff like that. And I like that you said a starting point. I would say that too. Laundry room
Hmm.
and your makeup. Start there.
Yep.
And because I heard that your laundry fabric softener sheets are one of the most toxic products in your home. So there you
Yeah.
go. Start with that one. Maybe you're already there. So all right. So then we need to talk about optimizing progesterone, because it's just how it is. Our girls' progesterone levels. So, like, and if you want to touch on this too, Faith, if estrogen's high, progesterone's low. They keep each other in check. But if
Yep.
estrogen goes up, progesterone is kind of like, I can't. And the lower the progesterone gets, the less it can keep the estrogen in check, right? So it's
Yep.
it's up, it's up, it's up, and then it's like, okay, now we really got to work hard on the progesterone. And I will say, um, all the things we're talking about doing naturally are a great help to that. And at the same time, I have seen a massive crucial need for girls to um, use natural progesterone, right, Faith?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I was gonna touch on because I feel like the more common thing is estrogen dominance nowadays. And
Yeah.
it's because of, like we talked about all the products and stuff,
Mhm.
and even stress can raise it as well. And so I think progesterone, yeah, definitely something we need to be mindful of, and be optimizing, to keep our estrogen in check. Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you do that and how Faith and I use a lot of the same products. So what we're talking about actually covers a wide range of hormone support from 23 to 47. Um, so we both use progestins plus from Young Living. Um,
Yes.
one of the things I will say about it, and I've told people this for probably a decade, a lot of progesterone creams, there's a couple of things. Number one, a lot of progesterone creams, the way that they're absorbed into the skin, they kind of sit in the fatty layer, and they are kind of dispersed into the bloodstream just really randomly. So you might be using it consistently, but it's not getting into your body consistently. So that's one thing I love about Progestins Plus serum, is it's a serum. It has therapeutic essential oils in it so that it's also supporting the hormones with those, but also increasing the absorption. And so it's absorbed just like that. It's absorbed better, which means less is more. So you're not dealing with some kind of mega dose progesterone that you've got to really navigate a little bit more carefully. There's a lot more room for experimenting and finding out what works, and it smells fabulous. So there's your perfume right there, right? I
Yeah.
use 2 to 3 drops every single night. I'm 47, so I'm now, per my daughter's advice recently, I switched it up from using it just days like 14 to 28 to all the days, and that's been going well for me. And but before that, and now for you, right, Faith, it's days 14 to 28.
Yeah, I like to use it after I ovulate for my cycle, because after ovulation, like during ovulation, your ovaries actually produce something called the corpus luteum, and it's mainly the producer of progesterone. So after you ovulate, your progesterone should go up. It should increase, to help build that uterine lining again before your period. So I like to use it days around 14, give or take, after ovulation, all the way until day 28, because I'm pretty regular with my cycle, so I know after day 28, immediately the next morning, I'm going to have my period. So I stop the night before, and I've noticed a huge difference. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah. And so that's going to be something where obviously we're not going to be like, here's how you use it because we're not prescribing or anything with that, but
Mhm.
you're going to find what works for you or your girl. If she's started cycling, but it's not regular, you might find that she just needs to use it all the time. Right, Faith?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to use it all the time too,
Okay.
until recently I switched because that's what works best for
Those
me.
things were good. Good. Yeah. Um, one of the questions is anything not Young Living that you can suggest. I have looked for over a decade for something similar. I have not found anything that compares. The other thing that I wanted to touch on really quick is when you're looking at progesterone creams, serums, products, whatever, is there's a lot of really good marketing out there. That's our theme for tonight. But even in
Hmm.
the natural world, they're talking about like this wild yam cream. I will tell you if it's a wild yam product and it doesn't have USP progesterone, if it just says wild yam and it's not actual USP progesterone, it is such a waste of your money because it's not doing it. The USP progesterone should be from wild yam, but it actually has to be converted because your body will not make that conversion itself, right?
Yep.
So just don't. I see so many women wasting money on wild yam products, and yeah, no.
Yeah. I
So,
tried patches once upon a time for progesterone patches. I was
mhm.
like, I really need to try this. That was like at the beginning of my hormone journey. And I would try them, and no, it was a waste of my money. I didn't feel
Yeah,
anything. Nothing
yeah,
happened. My labs
it's
didn't change, nothing.
yeah. Um, so that's Progestins Plus. You'll apply it to thin skin areas, and you rotate your sites. So I do wrists, right here behind the neck or behind the ears, kind of neck area, inner ankles. I do that. Sometimes I'll still do my abdomen. What about you, Faith?
I switch to from my lower belly to my inner thighs a lot, and then I'll
Oh,
do my
okay.
feet sometimes before bed. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that's just one thing. If you go, you get your girls' labs done, and you see that her estrogen's high, progesterone is low. There you go. Um, so a couple of things just that we'll get into really quick too, and then we'll send you off with some good resources to keep you learning because we don't want you to feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose tonight. Um, Two other things, we'll just briefly share some tips on stress management. So how do we teach our girls that? How do we teach their bodies that? And then just acute management and symptom relief that you found to help. So first, the stress management factor. How are we addressing stress and teaching our girls to manage it and teaching their bodies to manage it?
Yeah. We have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. Our parasympathetic is what we want to be on all the time. But unfortunately, we're usually on our sympathetic, which is our fight and flight nervous system, which is great for stressful situations, you know. But if you're constantly on that, you're gonna mess up your hormones and your gut, and your body's gonna be just messed up. So parasympathetic, and this is just gonna look like being conscious of stressful things in your life, understanding it, being like, okay, yep, that's stressful, and then taking your time to process it when you can, when you have the time, and just like switching off that sympathetic nervous system, going to your parasympathetic. And I feel like once we learn this and we teach our girls, it can become like a lifestyle thing or like a tradition. Some ways, you know, prayer, if that's what you want to do, meditation, movement, you know, evening walks, talking about
Mhm.
it, processing that stress with another person. I love to do this with my husband. I just always yap to him. And those are great ways. I want to tell you about this really cool trick really quick. If you put your finger right here and you breathe, nice deep breath out of your nose, you can see one of them is like a stronger breath than the other one. You can feel more air out of one than the other one. If it's your right nostril, that's, you know, the majority of the air is coming out of, that is your stressed. You're stressed. You're on your sympathetic nervous system. But your left one, it means you're
At the
resting.
front door.
It means you're in your parasympathetic nervous system and you're resting. So whenever I go to eat dinner or any meal for that matter, I always check that first because if you're eating on your sympathetic nervous system, your body is not going to be able to digest it
Right.
properly.
Yeah, that's where you
So,
get
which also,
bloating and stuff, huh?
yep, exactly.
Okay, so
So
say
I
that
always
one
check
more
that.
time, real quick. Right nostril is your sympathetic, which is not your rest and
Stress.
digest.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yep, that's your fight or flight. Right is fight or fight. And your left is going to be your
Well,
parasympathetic,
mine's
your
gonna
rest and
probably be
digest.
sympathetic right now because honestly, we were both nervous about this
No,
tonight.
me
So
too. I was like, oh yeah. This whole, like the last hour, I was like stressed.
that is awesome. That's a good tip. Putting your legs up on the wall, sitting with your butt up against the
Yes.
wall,
Yes, love
breathing
that
in
one.
oils.
Yep.
There's a lot of good ones for that. And then, of course, another product that you and I both
Oh my
use like
gosh.
crazy is cortisol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to
Cortisol.
just say,
Mhm.
I've had some practitioners look at it for their clients and their patients and be like, "Oh no, it's it doesn't stop your cortisol. We don't want to stop your cortisol. Cortisol is
No.
healthy. It's normal.
Mhm.
We want to balance it. It doesn't stop
Yes.
it. Maybe it needs to be renamed. I will say that, but it is
Mhm.
incredible because I mean, what really like just what's in it, like just so much that's in it, right, Faith?
Oh, so many good things. But yeah, we don't want to think about cortisol as bad because cortisol is actually helps you wake up in the morning. Otherwise, you would be tired all day, you know, and those kind of things. We need cortisol for that, but we don't need it to be so high for so long. That is where it's really gonna start
Yeah.
messing with you, and that's why I love this stuff. Oh my gosh, I take it like oh, love this stuff. So so good.
Yeah. And
Um,
I've been taking it off and on for probably 3 years. Um,
yes,
and that definitely does. It calms our nervous system down. It helps us just support our body's response to stressors,
yes.
herbs, and nutrients and things like that. Um, Faith has actually put together a guide. So if you're like, I need to know more about that, I need to know how to use it, how am I supposed to use it, when am I supposed to take it, Faith has actually put together a guide. So we're going to have some resources for you. I'm trying to figure out, I'm on the wrong device, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get that link in there. I wanted to put it in the chat group, Faith, for the list that you have of these products that we're talking about.
Okay.
But if you've got it handy and you can do it, otherwise I'll figure out how to do it here. But so cortisop is another one that's a phenomenal. I will say that for both Faith and I, despite be living super healthy and natural and everything, these are products that we found to just be complete game changers to the point where I'm not even going to tell you how many bottles I have of these things on hand, because if something were to happen and they weren't available, I need those. Tessa, yes, if you're subscribed to the HFFG newsletter, it's going to be in this next one, this coming out this weekend. So we'll have the replay in there and the links for these resources, the things we're talking about, and stuff like that. Okay, and then finally, let's finish up. We've got to go get Gabe from work here. So let's finish up with just some of the things that you've seen to help with symptom relief when you're in the midst of an uncomfortable period or something like that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I've tried a lot of things. I would say the biggest one is heat. Okay. When we have painful cramps, the cold is going to make the cramps so much worse. So we want to put a hot pack, hot bag, or I have an electric heating pad that I plug in and I put that over my abdomen. Oh my goodness. It's great. It's great for instant relief. It's great for, managing your periods while they're painful, until we can, find a long-term help support
Yeah.
for that. So I would say your heating pad for sure. Staying hydrated. We want to drink a lot of water. We need a lot of water because we're bleeding out a lot, and blood is mostly water. It's 60% water. So we want to make sure we are getting that water back into our bodies, for bone health, muscle health, everything like that. Magnesium is huge too for your muscles. When you're cramping, your muscles are cramping up. That's what's causing a lot of pain, discomfort. So magnesium is really big for that. I love magnesium glycinate for that. That's a great one for me. That's helped me a lot. But also like magnesium bath soaks with salts, with Himalayan salt. I love that as well during my periods.
Yeah, good. Okay. That's good. And then, so I'm working on getting this link here in the chat real quick about I'm still learning how to use a iPad, you guys. I've just used an ancient dinosaur of a laptop for so long. But it doesn't, here, let me paste. Why doesn't it paste? It's not pasting. I'll keep working on this. But anyway, do you have your wish list list link?
Yes, let me grab it real quick.
Okay. Otherwise, I might have this almost working. Hey, look at that. I got it. Okay, it's in there. So this is
Okay.
I put in the chat group the link for our top pick hormone products. Like we were just talking, if there's one area where this company, where Young Living shines, in our opinion, is these hormone products. These are just, regular supplement products, but they're incredible for you filling in the gaps, without us having to resort to some other things, for our hormones. So check that list out. Let us know if you have any questions. Let me see here. Did we cover what we wanted to cover? I would say, again, just make sure you're following Faith on Instagram. It's Faithy Liz. So FAITHYLIZ .my MAI.
Mm-hmm.
And follow her on Instagram. I'm reposting her stuff in my stories too. So if you already follow me, watch for her stuff. Just really, really great information. And you'll just keep learning and helping your girls. Monitor hormone levels. There's a lot of ways to do that nowadays. I have the home tests on my website that I've used to test my hormones and things like that. There are a lot of places that are just doing walk-in labs now where you don't need a doctor's orders to ask for certain lab tests and things like that. So monitoring that. So did we cover everything before we hop into Q&A? If anybody has any questions, they can always contact us as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Faith, for doing that with me. I love how smart you are and how much knowledge you're gaining. And you know, it's the tables have turned. Like the student becomes the master. That's what Britt and I were saying the other night because I was like, I had to ask Faith about what she thinks if I should switch my progesterones to this and that, and I was like, yep, the student has become the master. So this was fun. If you guys have any other ideas or topics you want us to do together, we'd love to to have an excuse to do some more. So
Yeah.
again, like I said, I'll have this replay, the link to this in the newsletter. So be sure that you're subscribed. If you're not already subscribed, go to healthyfamiliesforgod.com, and then right up there, there's a subscription thing where you can my free email newsletter goes out every weekend. I'll have this in there. I'll have the links that we put in the chat in there too. And you can let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, Faith, for sharing your knowledge and your experience and being willing to help other women with what you've learned.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. I hope I was able to help someone somewhere.
Yeah, give us feedback. I hope you were
Hmm.
too. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye. Whoops. There we go.